You all look beautiful on YouTube.
Okay. Oh, we're live.
YouTube loves you. You are live out in the world.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I had my back to you out there in the internet's worlds. We appreciate you being here as I look for my notes. Thank you and welcome, everybody, to the August 2022 GGDA meeting. Yes, there are actually people here in person and in bodies too. It's amazing. Great turnout. Thanks to everyone who's here tonight. This is one of those nights where we could pull several of these panels just out of the audience and give some more wonderful information. But we don't have quite that much time. There are a number of things we want to talk about tonight, most of which I know you're most looking forward to, the panels on breaking into game dev and into esports. And I know that you out there on the internet can't see this, but we'll get the folks here to raise your hands. Are you interested in game development? All right, yeah. Significant number. Are you interested in esports? You can do both. All right, excellent. Yeah, pretty good numbers on both. For those of you interested in game development, we're also doing a game narrative competition. Dr. LaGrange from KSU will be running that. There we go. Sorry, I can't turn the camera to you, but for you in the audience, Dr. LaGrange is over here, and I'll try and grab a few minutes with her after this so we have some video talking about it as well. But if you're interested in game writing, she'll be involved with that. Bob Carter, who's on the panel here, will be helping organize the voiceover artists for it. Paul Jenkins, who is here in the house somewhere, will be one of the judges for it. So it's going to be a great event if you're interested in getting your chops into game writing, especially if you're a student. This will be a great opportunity. I was asked to talk about the Gwinnett Game Jam. We're in Gwinnett County tonight at Gwinnett Technical Institute. Gwinnett County, through its library systems, will actually be doing a game jam starting in November. So look for more information about that. Need to announce, if you're interested in being a Siege speaker, we've extended the deadline for applications. Deadline was going to run out on August 15th. We've extended it to September 1st. If you want to speak, get that application in now. Our next meeting will be September 13th at Kennesaw State University. Topic still to be decided. It might very well be Unreal versus Unity as we analyze the two most popular game engines and badmouth both of them. I mean, say the wonderful things. Tell you how great they both are. We are also looking to reactivate our Athens chapter, so any Athenians out there, this is Athens, Georgia, by the way. Sorry for you on the internet. Don't mean to be too confusing. We are the Georgia chapter. It doesn't mean we're the Republic of Georgia with a chapter in Athens. It's the state of Georgia in both cases. So if you're in Athens and interested in taking part, please let us know. Let's see. Were there others in the audience who I had announcements for, who I'd promised to pass on? All right, we've got a lot of good games here tonight. We'll try and get a look at those later in the evening. But now, because we're already running behind schedule, I want to go ahead and turn it over to our host to introduce our first panel, Fernando Aragon from Gwinnett Technical Institute.
Thank you. This thing on? Yeah? Just the internet, okay. Excellent. And as far as camera, if I sit, am I good? Or okay, excellent. Well, I want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much again to Andrew for partnering with us on this. I'm Fernando Aragon. I've been an adjunct instructor here at Gwinnett Tech for 2 years. Well, a little over 2 years, and the program director since May. And what we're doing today, actually, in conjunction with the GGDA, because you've probably seen a lot of GTC students here, is we're launching our game development and esports club. So this is something really exciting that we're getting into. And on the sign-in sheet, there was a column that if you are a GTC student to put yes. I know that the spreadsheet had a little bit of issues. If you didn't get a chance to put yes, be sure that you put yes so we can contact you. That's a little bit about myself. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to our panel, and we'll start this way and then go that way. So,
I'll start at the end.
Thank you. Hi, I am Scarlet Dangerfield. I am the VP of Human Resources over at Hi-Rez Studios. We are the makers of Spite, Rogue Company, Paladins, and Realm, and a handful of other games that are not really supported at this point, but I've been in games for probably about 12 years and HR for about 18. So nice to meet you all.
Hi everyone, I'm Jesse, Jesse Johnson. I'm the game architect and lead developer of Beat the Bomb. It's a immersive gaming experience and that we're actually opening up in Atlanta, about west of Buckhead. And it's kind of like an escape room where you go from room to room playing like 10-minute games, and then based on your performance, you play a final game, and if you don't win, you get blasted with a paint bomb, hence Beat the Bomb. It's a lot of fun, makes great videos, and yeah, so.
Excellent. All right, and Bob.
Hello, hopefully most of you know me. My name is Bob Carter. Grew up here in Atlanta, long-time voice actor, broadcaster, owner of the Neighborhood Studios, which is a teaching and production studio where we help aspiring creatives become working creatives. And I work on a variety of different projects, all involving post-production and primarily audio.
Excellent. Thanks. And so there is one thing before I get into the questions that I told my wife I was going to do this, Bob. Okay. All right. So I actually met Bob at Southern Fried Gaming Expo last month. It was a wonderful panel, and my first time meeting Bob. And so I'll keep this story short, but when the panel started, you asked if we had water. Right, and I didn't have water ready, and I was like, oh, shame. I'm here with voice acting legends, right? And so Bob's like, don't worry, I'll go get water, right? And I was like, wow, what a great guy. So you come back and you bring Tim and I water. Tim, boom shakalaka, is it the shoes? Y'all know Tim. So the panel begins. I have my water, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the panel, I'm walking with my wife, and she's like, where did you get that Monster? I had a Monster energy drink. And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, did you steal that from Bob? And I was like, I think so. So, Bob, I have something for you. This isn't the same one. It's the same flavor. Again, I don't know if I stole your Monster.
You didn't steal it. I brought them all for all of us.
See, all right, so my...
No. Remember, it was sponsored by Southern Fried Gaming Expo was sponsored in part by Monster. So I made sure that I brought us waters and Monsters to be considerate, to give them a plug, right? Always take care of your sponsors. That's the commercial side of me thinking like that. But thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I promise this will go to good use.
Excellent. Yeah, it was. But she was like, "You stole Bob's art," and then you didn't mention this, but Bob is the voice of Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat. So I was like, I stole Shao Kahn's Monster. I even remind me to show you a picture of me being like, sorry. All right, but enough of that. Sorry.
Odin and Smite, and and Olorun, and Atlas as well. I'm very fortunate to have been cast as several of the characters, and to have that kind of range, especially with a game that's cast nationally, like Smite, it's a pretty big deal. So. Excellent.
All right, so I had to get that out of the way. So now we're going to get into the questions, and I guess what's the best thing, just to pass along the microphone? So as an instructor, I always try to point the students in the right direction, motivate them. And one of the things that I always mention is to build a portfolio. Being in the industry, what would you say are the key elements to have in a portfolio? And I guess we can start down.
For me, it's going to be dependent upon the kind of position that you're applying for, but please have pieces for the job that you're applying for in your portfolio. I'm looking for a rigger right now at the moment. I pulled up the portfolio today, or a handful of portfolios today, and they would have lots of pieces of animation or 3D modeling. So you do want to really kind of focus that portfolio on the position you're applying for. And more so even focus it towards the games that you're applying for. So we have at Hi-Rez, we have stylized games, and we also have realistic games. And we really want to see pieces in that portfolio that we can see in the game, that we can imagine at least in the game that you're applying for. So definitely you want to customize it towards the positions you're keen on.
Yeah, in a similar aspect, so I guess I could speak for the indie world. A lot of indie developers want like a person that's kind of well balanced in a lot of different fields. So, animation, rigging modeling, software development. So if you're trying to get your foot in the door into an indie development job, it is good to have, kind kind of a fleshed out resume of different things. But also little pieces of, on your portfolio that do make you look, unique and interesting that could be applied to the specific developer you're looking for. So like, I know for something I applied to, I actually had a bunch of like custom Nerf blasters on my portfolio. So that kind of was like drew the interest of the person that hired me, just because it was like, wow, you have a knack for like an eye for 3D like sculpture in a way, even though it's just Nerf blasters. It's kind of fun. So fun little angle for your portfolio building.
I would also like to remind you that Scarlet is one of the most important people here. I mean, come on, being the HR director for Hi-Rez, she is who you want to speak to when it comes to breaking into the industry, right? So what you want to do is, first of all, break through her bubble of busy. Obviously, you need to have your resume, but more importantly than just your resume, you need to have that portfolio that you have put together over months or years or even just weeks of the different video games that you have helped produce with game jams, right? So getting involved, just playing, hanging out with your friends, game jams. Game jam, game jam, game jam, because they need to see that you can do this, that you're functional and not just academic, but that you can actually put in the grind to get these things done. Recently, I had somebody that I needed post-production done. So I needed a master of Premiere. And I had a graduate who came to me and, he had great grades throughout his collegiate career, but when I asked for his shows, when I asked for his projects that he had put together, that he had worked on, he couldn't show me anything. I mean, come on, show me the weekend projects on YouTube, show me the funny videos, the parodies, the whatever, but you've got to show that you are a creative with a capital C, especially for indie studios, because they need people that have a lot of different tools in their tool belt. Does that make sense? Okay.
Awesome. And you mentioned game jam. We've already mentioned it one time, but Gwinnett County Public Library, having a month-long game jam in November. So we have Tanya and Eli here from the library. Be sure to reach out to them.
What's the age range on that, by the way?
Age range?
All ages. That's huge, by the way, right? That helps in terms of getting into colleges. That helps in terms of just getting that basic understanding of coding, of participating, of being part of a group or a team. So that's perfect for anybody with kids, anybody that knows kids, anybody that knows young people who love to play video games, which is everybody in this room.
Absolutely. Well, that was great insight, of course, from the Hi-Rez to the indie. The next question I would have that students ask is when they tend to be hesitant to, for example, events like this, hesitant of showing off their work, kind of intimidated, like, the head of this studio is going to be here, or this person from the industry is going to be here. I'm not sure I want to share my work. What are your thoughts on, I guess, the preparing for an event like that, and advice you would give to a student who is hesitant maybe of their work?
That's a good question, and I don't have an answer right off the bat, but I guess some initial thoughts. Creating your portfolio is almost like a full-time job. It is something our art director on Smite told me once when he was trying to get his first job, that you're going to be working on that 40 hours a week. You're going to treat that like your job. So share your portfolio. Reach out to people on LinkedIn. Reach out to teachers at your school, anyone that you can connect with, just to start getting feedback on your portfolio, so you can kind of keep honing that in until you get to the point where you are comfortable to come to an event like this and meet people in person. But even with that, you're still just going to be getting more feedback, right? You're going to start getting that networking then kicked up. And that is how a lot of people get jobs, or at least their first job. Or actually, I think I've gotten my last 2 jobs in the industry just based off of networking. So you always want to kind of at least keep that wheel spinning.
Yeah, as a person that's also, still struggling with, being comfortable showing my portfolio, you do have to realize, and this is going to sound harsh, that even if, your portfolio is not great and you show it off to somebody and they tell you it's not great, you know where to build. You know how to make it better. And every time you fail, you're going to make it better. I know that sounds really cliche and dumb, but that's how it works. You just got to keep trying, keep hitting that wall, and then eventually you'll break through. But also to talk about the portfolio some more, you do just have to really be really passionate about talking about what's on your portfolio, know what's on it, and just be open to, be that exciting guy in the room when you're talking about your games or the work you've done. And I mean, that's kind of how I got my job. I was literally just talking about what I thought was a failed thesis project, and a guy across the room just saw me talking about it and handed me a business card. So, even if you're talking about your failures, as long as you're passionate about it and you've learned from it, you might draw some attention.
I also want to remind you that in terms of being intimidated, what you want to do is expand your comfort zone. You have to realize we are all big nerds. We're just older than you. We're the biggest nerds in the room, all right? We're the biggest nerds in the room because we've been doing it longer, and we have an even deeper understanding of every edition, every generation of the entire build that led up to this particular version. So even now, thinking about it, notice I got chills right there. Somebody brought up D&D, and as soon as that came out, actually it was Paul and it was Ben, and as soon as it came out, I was like, really? Yeah, you don't need to be intimidated so much. I mean, I understand that also there are a lot of introverts when it comes to the gaming industry, right? And so peopling can be hard, but you can be passionate about what you care about, because you can also appreciate the fact that we all have a fandom, right? And you've poured your energy, your emotions, your highs, your lows, your stresses, your frustrations, all of that into your creation. Whether it's your story that you've been working on, your art that you've been drawing, the production piece that you've been building, whatever that is, we appreciate that. We appreciate that more than anybody. So don't be a perfectionist, right? I mean, you want it to be excellent, right? Strive for excellence, not necessarily perfection, because if you're ashamed or embarrassed to show it off, we can appreciate the bones of whatever that structure is that you're putting together, because we understand what it took to make that, and we also have the creative vision to see where it could go that you might not even know about. Okay? So what I want you to do is not so much be intimidated and try to get out of your comfort zone. I want you to remember to expand your comfort zone and be comfortable knowing that we believe more than anybody else in what you're doing and what you're trying to do, because this is our industry. We've built our lives in this. So we want you to be successful. Does that make sense? Good.
Wonderful. And, at this point, we've had some great responses there. I want to be sure that we get some of y'all's questions, because I know that y'all have, I really want to hear their thoughts on this. So whoever wants to ask a question, just raise your hand. I'll repeat the question. Yep, that was fast.
I've got, it's kind of a little bit of a tough, I guess it might be a little bit of a tough question, and it might be more geared towards Scarlet because you're in HR. What you said makes a lot of sense, and I think everybody kind of echoed that in terms of portfolio, spending a lot of time putting it together for a specific studio, for even potentially a specific game, and maybe working up 40 hours a week to do so. I understand that because I've been hiring as well for development and stuff, but I feel like, how do you help someone juggle their time and manage their life? Because they feel like they have very low potential or possibilities. They don't know where they're going to land, and they're trying to look at 10, 15, 20 different places and opportunities. How can they balance all of that? Is there any advice that you could give to help narrow in on what really they should be focusing on? Because you don't have enough time in the week to do everything.
Were you able to pick that up, or do you want me to repeat? Whew, that's a new one. All right, so yeah. Correct me if I
Focus for the portfolio.
Yeah.
You know where to spend your time, because there's a lot of effort needs to go into it.
Yeah. So when preparing a portfolio, how do you know where to focus your your time. Is
Yeah,
that-
especially when you're considering multiple places to go,
Okay.
positions and games and studios.
when you're considering multiple studios and places.
Thank you. Photo.
There we go.
So if I were in your shoes then in that situation, I would really try to focus on like a set genre, at least kind of start off with like, okay, cool. I'm super into stylized games. I'm going to check out Paladins. I'll check out Smite. I might check out Valorant. Like trying to figure out like at least, all right, this is like a grouping of games that I'm super keen on, and try to focus your portfolio on that. I'd also start weeding out like older pieces in your portfolio, probably even school projects, and really focus more kind of on your passion pieces as you're building that portfolio out. Because everyone does have the student pieces, and they're all going to be decently similar. So we really kind of want to see like what are they more excited about, like what are they working on in their free time, and that's probably kind of the companies that you're going to gravitate towards, right? Like you really like that kind of more stylized art pieces. If you're a 3D modeler, you're probably going to be gravitating towards those studios to begin with, and then your portfolio will already be geared towards that. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I'm a Twitch streamer and a podcaster, and I've always been passionate about games. I'm wondering, what are some like entry level, because I look around for jobs in different studios in Georgia, and there don't seem to be any entry level jobs. Is that something that's like available in the games industry locally? Something that's entry level, so somebody like my background's in the medical field, so I don't have any programming, any coding, any art experience, but games is something that I'm passionate about. So are there jobs that could fit someone who doesn't have technical know-how or doesn't have, but is hardworking, is willing to learn, what are some positions that could fit someone like me?
Okay, so the question was, are there, in terms of the game industry, positions that are not require the game development technical education, but just broad fields, entry level. Okay, yeah, Bob, you want?
I would first and foremost say, again, game jam, because that way you're going to get introduced to these people who will understand your personality, and it's very important that you mesh with the right people. And then in addition to that, beta test, QA. I mean, it's all about quality assurance. Break the game. If you're a great gamer and you are great at video games, it is your job to break their game, right? I mean, speed runs. We love watching speed runs, and we love listening to the developers cry when their games are broken that they've spent years working on, and then somebody busted in 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, right? But then we also love hearing how they fix that and how they overcome that. They welcome that challenge. So think about quality assurance, and Hi-Rez always has that sort of thing. And there were a couple of other studios as well, but depending on the types of video games that you're into. So that really matters, because there are some games like Tripwire where it's gory and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, again, given your medical background, you might like that, so that could work.
Decapitation, medically accurate.
Yeah. Do y'all have something to add on that?
Like the artery.
Well, I don't know if this is like the best answer, but I will supplement. Game jams are great, and Unity's actually surprisingly okay to handle. Like, you can do a lot with it without touching code, without touching scripts. Now, you should learn to eventually code in Unity, because it does expand your capabilities a lot. But it's honestly, I mean, it's pretty accessible, like, nowadays. It's definitely not as dense to overcome. Yeah, for sure. And there's tons of YouTube resources. There's lots of books. Unity's really well documented. Community's great.
Have you met James Simpson? Right? Dr. Unity right there.
Dr. Unity. He's got the shirt and everything.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Piggyback.
Oh, there you go.
Just to piggyback on everyone else, game jams. Game jams. It's good to have, it's a great thing to start building out your resume of yep, this is really something that I'm super keen on. I've actually participated in these things. You can also find freelance work that you can do as well in your spare time, just to kind of get some more stuff that you can help get some credentials onto your resume for the industry. And then I would say have a really good, well thought out cover letter of why you want to get into the industry, because that's going to help differentiate you from other entry level candidates that are applying for the positions. And you said you do Twitch and a podcast? I would say community, because we look for community people. We look for content creators as well, like on our video team. Like if you want to even stay in that genre, like there are still definitely things that you can get your foot in the door with.
And mentioned freelance, so I have to reach out to you. So advice to freelancers? He's winding up.
Sorry to get a little adult here, but pimping ain't easy, but hoeing's harder. And you are going to be a happy, hard-working. You're going to have to get your grind on. You're going to have your day job for a while. Hopefully, you won't have it always because you'll make that transition. But sometimes you're going to keep that day job because it might have the health insurance that you need. Now, there is health insurance that's offered through the GGDA, and that's a whole different plug, but I'm not going to talk about that. But in all seriousness, you've got to grind. You have to want it. This is not something to be casual about. There are ways to be casual about it. I don't know those ways. I'll be honest. I'm still trying to learn that because I work a lot. I like put in hours working a lot, so I can't say the easy way to go about things. I mean, I can say it's fun, and I can say that it's rewarding, and I can say that it's, I'm passionate about my career because I have a career, and I'm very proud to have seen all of my accomplishments, and I'm also very proud of what we're striving for now and that we're taking things to the next level. I mean, I was a very successful voice actor myself, and I said, I could do better. So actually, I looked at Chris Sabat. I lost out to all kinds of roles from Chris Sabat, right? And then he opened up Okra Studio, and he took things to the next level. He couldn't be every deep-voiced guy, and so he would cast other people for the projects that he was working on. A rising tide raises all ships, and so that's what we're doing at the Neighborhood Studio. We have taken things to the next level. I'm now a successful voice coach in that not only am I a successful voice actor, but the people that I've coached have become successful voice actors on Smite, on Paladins, on a bunch of other video games as well. So I have that proud papa moment. And then we're now producing anime. We are now producing video games. We're now doing sound design. And we're now doing these different things and taking it to the next level. Does that make sense? So you're always going to be striving and moving on to the next level. Or hopefully you will. So that was a long answer. I'm sorry about that. For freelance.
Yeah. I knew it was going to kind of be a long, because Bob gave a great, it turned into a motivational seminar at one point at Southern Fried Gaming Expo, but it was wonderful. I got chill bumps, and I was just like, oh, freelance, got to turn it over to Bob too. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, Andrew.
Hank's Inferno on YouTube is asking about going the production route. What kind of portfolio should someone who wants to be a producer make? What is the producer's portfolio? How, and let's expand it out. Assistant producer. What do you need to show to prove that you're qualified for those roles?
Okay. So as far as pursuing a producer and assistant producer role, what should you highlight in your portfolio?
Or period. I think it goes beyond portfolio.
Oh,
Producer.
for producer. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. This hopefully a little bit of an easier one. We don't usually look at portfolios for producers, so we're really more looking at the resume. So what I would like to see in those situations is that maybe you picked up a position on a game team at school as a project lead, just some sort of like production, project management type experience on your resume is what I would be keen for.
Your team's success as much as your own. Yes.
For sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sure. For production, it's not just your game portfolio, it's your actual portfolio. It's whatever you've created. If it's animatics, if it's animation, if it's on camera, if it's live direction, if it's mocap, if it's audio production, again, if it's After Effects, you want to showcase each of those features that are on your production or part of your production background. And again, being freelance, you're going to work on a lot of different types of jobs. And so the more tools that you have in your tool belt, the more examples of those projects you'll have naturally. There was also a question from him, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll let you go ahead and just repeat the question.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. How did I get into voiceover, and how did I become an audio producer? So I got my start in college radio back in the day at Album 88. So that has completely changed and gone away and is now much more of a multimedia series, right? It's a new generation, so you guys have a new way of doing things. So for you guys, it's going to be getting involved with the CMII, right? The Creative Media Industries, Industry, CMII at GSU. KSU has its game development programs, but again, it's multimedia, right? It's streaming, it's podcasting, it's Twitch, but there's also a structure to each of those. So you've got to be able to show consistency in terms of having a successful podcast or a stream, in terms of how many you can do, because you want to show that you've got the intestinal fortitude to continue that, and that you've got the structure in place to be able to do that. In addition to that, you need to expand your comfort zone. So fun things like improvisational comedy, right? I always recommend Dad's Garage. I absolutely always recommend Dad's Garage for improv comedy because it's a lot of fun. KSU has its own improv comedy group. GSU has its own improv comedy group. I think Gwinnett Tech has its own improv comedy group, I believe. They weren't at the Southern Fried Gaming Expo, but I met them before. And then in Lawrenceville, Dad's Garage goes out to the Aurora Theater sometimes. UGA has them. Clark Atlanta has, everybody's got improv comedy groups. Or just start by watching Whose Line Is It Anyway? It's all about that constructive creativity, right? And it's about expanding your comfort zone, being willing to play. Now, as far as voiceover goes, I teach that. So you would come to the neighborhood studio. So in order to I'm happy to plug myself. In this case, again, neighborhoodstudioatlanta.com. And we teach that. So I can teach you how to become a working creative, not just an aspiring creative. And I'm very proud of the fact that our students are booking these jobs and that we now cast for everything from Nickelodeon to Smite still. Got back on that one. And then a bunch of other video games and projects as well. Does that answer your question? Cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Going back to the first thing you guys talked about, you're applying for jobs, keeping your portfolio focused on the position. You guys have all said game jams are good, but a company like Hi-Rez that makes multiplayer action games, there's not a lot of game jams that would let you make a multiplayer action game. So how would you, if you're going to game jam route, what would you want to see? What would be translatable?
Okay. What in terms of Hi-Rez with a game jam, and you want to go the multiplayer route, what would you like to see out of a game jam?
Well, Scarlet said earlier that she wants to see in portfolios that if you're applying for a job with them, she probably want to see if you're doing a gameplay program or game designer thing. You want to see some multiplayer action experience, but game jams that would be very hard to do.
Yeah.
So what would be the next best thing?
Okay, so outside of game jams, what would be a great opportunity that someone could take advantage of to show their ability in working with a multiplayer game?
I would say outside of game jams, something that we're really keen to see, depending on the project and the hiring manager, is mods. We do love seeing mods that people have created. That's huge for us. In addition to that, passion projects. So even if it's something that you started working on for one of your semesters at school, you and your team still continue working on it. Maybe you shipped it on Steam. Just really kind of seeing what are you most excited about and where's your passion lie? That's what we're most keen on finding out.
And I guess as a technical answer, if you do want just a clean example of how to I know how to do multiplayer games. Look up Photon, look up Unity. There it is. I'm sure you already know about it, but just working through that pipeline, knowing, your limitations, what you got to account for, what hurdles are you going to run into. Just saying you know how to do those things is going to be stupid helpful, and Photon's pretty accessible in regards to that. Now, you could also go the absolute nerdy route and write your own server. There's tons of books on just writing dedicated game servers, and you're gonna run into tons of obstacles and tons of hurdles. But just having that completed project, start to finish, even one of the things I did is there was a book that was literally like, okay, we're gonna create this game called Cat Battle, and it's just literally just you just like. It's just like 100. It's like making like a StarCraft clone, but with like 100 cats, and just showing that from start to finish that you have, yep, I've mastered dedicated servers. I know how to handle, a server load, all this crap. It's very helpful, and just going through that process, and it's going to be hard, not going to be really fun, because it is kind of one of the less fun aspects of game development is server management and that kind of stuff. But it's very helpful. It's very important, and it makes their games work. Oh yes.
You said you're a designer. You want to be a game designer? Okay, so game jams might not always be applicable for, I would say, every single position out there. But what's going to be really important from the fact that you've done one is that you're going to be able to talk about it later. And you're going to be able to explain in interviews, like, what did you learn? What were the failings? What would you do next time differently? And that is huge, at least from the interview process, because then we can get a better understanding of your thought process. So not so much for portfolio, but good for interviews and life experience.
Awesome. Right now we're at 7:46. We have.
Start a little late, we can go a little longer.
Okay. Do you want to? We'll maybe take 2 more questions and then.
Well, for our Twitter audience,
Yeah.
let them know, are there any things they absolutely should not do?
Are there any things that you should absolutely not do in terms of in terms of game development, or just in general?
No crime.
No crime.
Download games.
That eliminates take 2.
Pay your artists.
All right. So, in terms of game development.
In terms of breaking into game dev.
All right. So, in terms of breaking into game dev, are there anything that you should not do?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say this one right now. Never publicly bash a game of any kind or game developer of any kind. You want to be too busy to be negative, all right? And nobody wants to deal with that kind of drama or that kind of bitterness or that kind of just negativity. I mean, even if... Yeah, it's a very small industry, and especially here in Atlanta, where we are much more collaborative than competitive. And everybody here, even though there aren't a lot of, well, I shouldn't say that. Everybody here knows a lot of the other people in the industry, even in other parts of the country. So really, never bash, never spread your negativity publicly. All right, if you've got stress, go work out.
I mean, just an example of how small things are. I just met Bob, 3 weeks ago, and here we are again on a panel. Yeah, there we go.
But I've been here for years.
Well, you took my answer. I'm trying to think of another follow-up. Come back to me.
Yeah, I feel like Bob's was a mic drop right there. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say something similar. Just don't bash your previous employer. That's all I got. I'm with you guys.
Never submit someone else's work as your own.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
No plagiarism.
Huh? Yeah, don't fake it. That's a good point, too. Yep. We're stealing other people's answers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't lie on your resume. Don't take credit for other people's hard work. That's really bad. I'm just there's a million things that I don't know which one's the most, but you already said the most important ones. So, yeah.
Ultimately, be a good person. Be positive. Don't slam other people. Yeah. So just in life, just do good and
Be smart, be kind.
please rewind. Some people may not know what that is.
Yeah, just, be smart and be kind to others.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When building a portfolio, is it better to focus more on group projects that you've worked on, or solo projects, or does that not really matter?
Is it better to highlight in your portfolio group projects or works that you or projects that you've worked solo? Yeah.
So group projects are actually fantastic to show that you can definitely work and develop with a team. It's critical, especially for larger teams, but also small teams alike. But if you do, if a lot of your work on your portfolio is group work, do mention what you did specifically, and then also how, you collaborated with the rest of your team. So, 2 wins for 1 attempt, just show your teamwork, but also how you contributed to the team.
I was going to say something similar. It's going to really depend upon the kind of role that you're going for. If you're more of a designer, yeah, it's going to be probably more of a group work. If you're a 3D modeler, probably more something solo. But similar as you said, you really kind of want to make sure, okay, if I'm doing a 3D model, if someone else did the concept, make sure you know who actually created the concept. So at least people know kind of what part you actually contributed.
When it comes to game development, and actually just creativity in general, a lot of what we create, this is your baby, right? This is our baby. And it already takes years of trust between people it takes years to develop a certain amount of trust between people. So you want to show your best, and you want to make sure that you're showing up. They talk about success, 90% of it is showing up, right? That's because they want to see that you're reliable, right? So you want to be consistent. You want to show that you can show up and put in the time and put in the sweat equity to make things happen. And even then, you're not guaranteed anything, right? So that's another thing too. In this industry, there's no sense of entitlement. Be appreciative of everything that happens. Work hard for it, right? But be appreciative when it happens. Don't think that just because you've done something that you deserve this. Okay, that's the kiss of death. I cannot sit on my laurels. I could say I'm the greatest voice talent in the world. But guess what? If I don't put myself out there, if I don't market myself, if I don't go out and introduce to people and do what I need to do to audition and put myself out there to not get picked and not get chosen and get passed over, I know that I've been doing this long enough that I am still confident in my abilities, right? So even though they didn't pick me, it's not that they didn't like me. I'm awesome. They love me. But I wasn't right for their project. You have to remember that too. And you also have to remember that it takes years of trust, right? It takes years. Just think about you and your friends and in your circles. So imagine if you're trying to be a part of someone else's team that's delivering their baby, right? You've got to make sure that you treat their baby with respect and treat that their project with a certain level of passion and excitement and understand that. And so just appreciate that, because again, it takes years to develop that level of trust and weeks and months to develop that level of camaraderie and comfort. Just think about your own friend circles, right? And so especially when you're working on a project that we've all worked on, it takes time to make these things happen, okay? Video games take time to make happen. So you've got to put in that time.
Yeah.
Sorry, so someone asked earlier what not to do, and Bob just made me think of something. Don't give up. Yes. Because there's so many people that apply for jobs, and it does take a while, and it is a full-time commitment to get there, and we've all been rejected. Yeah, it happens. It does not mean you're a bad person. It does not mean you don't have great work. It just means that, as Bob said, you're just not the fit for that role. So just keep trying.
It still happens. It always happens. You just you'll get a little more comfortable with it, and just remember, it's not necessarily you, right? It's just that your project or whatever it is that they're looking for is something that's different than what they're seeing from your product or your project or your portfolio, okay? You are wonderful. You are amazing. You are a beautiful, unique snowflake, and the industry needs you, okay? There's nobody else like you. You're a wonderful, amazing creator with a capital C. Just remember that your project or your portfolio might not reflect whatever it is that they need at that particular time.
And it's a really small industry, and as long as you still make a good impression, there's been plenty of people that I've turned down for jobs, and I might email them a couple weeks later and be like, hey, I know you weren't a fit for this, but you're a great fit for that. I'd like to go ahead and have you talk to the manager. So as long as just keep trying.
Yeah, that's just great overall advice for life in general. Game dev, outside game dev. I can't tell you how many times I've been rejected for jobs, and then sometimes it's a blessing. Other times, like you said, they come back like, hey, you weren't great for that role, but you know what? We're looking for, an analyst. Have you thought about that? So always always put, and this is something that I stress to those of you who've been my students, and just really anybody who hears me talk, is put yourself out there to be rejected. It's okay to be rejected.
Absolutely.
And you've heard this from all of us. I can't stress it enough. And don't take it personally if somebody said, sorry, we're going to move on with another candidate. That's okay. It's not what they're looking for their project, for their baby, like you said. So it has nothing to do with necessarily, it's not personal. Just,
you take it personally, and it feels personal,
Yeah.
but it's not personal in that they're looking for something else. Does that make sense? Okay.
yeah. Yeah, Andrew.
For cheesy controller on Twitter, what are some interview do's and don'ts?
All right, Cheesy Controller on Twitter wants to know some interviews, do's and don'ts. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it all the way.
Thank you. A big do that I like to see is play the games of the company that you're going to go interview and have at least a base level understanding of what they make. You don't have to be able to, you don't need to master all the gods in Smite. All of our games are free to play, just tossing that out there. So it's good. It's worth checking them out. But at least give them a shot before you get to the interview, so at least you can speak intelligently about whatever product they're making.
This is going to sound really dumb, but because a lot of interviews are the same, and a lot of questions are actually sourced from something else. So if you really want to game it, learn some questions for interviews and figure out some good responses to them. It works a lot. It works charms. It helps your confidence because, if you're not great at improv like I am, you can have your responses ready to go.
The worst question is, tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
Even I will freeze on that.
I was literally on the drive over here going, okay, what am I going to say? I know they're going to ask me that. And I still messed it up, but I did better than if I went in cold. So keep that in mind.
Did terrific.
I know I said improv comedy is great and you need to know how to improv, but in addition to that, you also need to know how to prepare. Confidence comes from being properly prepared, right? If you know your abilities, if you know your range, if you know how long you worked on a certain project, if you know what the key roles were for everybody in this particular game jam, if you know that you came in third but not second or first, but you know that video game was amazing, you're gonna speak with confidence about that sort of thing, right? So proper preparation prevents, never mind, 7 Ps, and then just again, you can prepare for certain interviews, and so that way you're going in and and always consider yourself. Remember this: it's not just about the one particular job. You want to lay the foundation so that even though you might not get this job, again, Scarlet said she's reached out to people weeks after their interview if they shone, right? You're going to lay the foundation. Remember, if you have a strong foundation, you can walk all over the house for years and years and years, and that house is going to last for decades, for centuries. If it's built on a weak foundation, it's going to crumble, it's going to crack, and then it's going to fall apart. So make sure that when you go and you meet somebody, you want to lay that foundation and leave a positive impression, right? A strong, positive, lasting impression, okay? And it's not just about the one job. It's about the next 10 years of relationships so that when they have a certain idea or project that they'll call you up. That happened with James Simpson for one of his projects, Cutthroat Caverns, mobility, a mobile game. It was fantastic. He was working on this project, and again, he thought about me and called me up, and we made it happen. It was fantastic. I love you too, James. Thank you. But again, the relationships that you're going to form here in the GGDA, these things matter, right? The networking that you're going to make right here. Whenever I have questions or projects or I need stuff, again, this anime that we're working on producing, I called up Paul and I said, hey, Paul, I need your help, right? So you're going to form relationships with these people in this room and in your own generation as well, with your people that are in your classes and in your own circles and in your own game jams. And these are the people that you're going to rely upon. Remember that. And it's not just about the academics, it's also about putting in that time and that sweat equity, and about playing video games with them and talking trash and having a good time and eating pizza and just, being a real person.
Paul, come on down.
Yes. Paul.
Yeah, this will actually.
Ladies and gentlemen. Yes. I'll give up my tip. Come on over here.
All right, yeah. Well, you're probably wondering who the hell that was. My name's Paul Jenkins. I, amongst other things, I've worked on a number of big console games like God of War and stuff like that. I wrote for Marvel for years. I wrote The Origin of Wolverine, so I've done this for a long time.
Yeah.
Right, we've done this for a while. I would say don't start with an apology and don't apologize for yourself. If you walk into an interview, right, and you start apologizing, I wasn't prepared, I'm really sorry, this isn't finished, blah, blah, blah. The moment that you do that, you've basically handed someone the thing that they're looking for, which is, why isn't this going to work? And what you really want to do, which I think the panelists have touched on, is it's going to work because you're confident. Confidence is exactly equal to accomplishment. And then one more thing, this is my standard. There's a maxim that says writers write, or creators create. And that's not true, writers finish. So don't walk in with half a thing and say, here's something that I'm sort of dabbling in. It's like never finishing a song. At least be able to show somebody that you know how to finish something, I think. Because if you can show that you understand how to finish something, somebody will probably have a little bit more confidence in you. That's from the guy with the grey beard that's done it for a long time. There you go.
Thank you. And how are we on time? I mean, that seems like a great place to wrap it up. Yeah. All right. So, yeah. It's been absolutely wonderful, and we've got another panel lined up. Andrew, do you want to take a quick 5-minute break? You want to run right into it?
I've got to go right into it. How's the audience feeling?
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom. Run right into it.
All right. Well, let's transition.
If our speakers can hang out for another half hour and answer questions afterwards, that would be great. Yeah, the speakers will remain here.
Yeah, speakers will stay around. Yeah, you're moderators.
I'm between Smite and fucking Odin. I got to hear Shao Kahn say.
Have my monster. That was a great gift. Thank you very much, man.
I don't know.
Just 1 minute. Thank you very much.
Cheers, my favorite little tea company.
Well, if you play the ball around, you beat them. You have to push the control.
I'm Gina, by the way.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, okay.
That is what we need to do is we need to do this. Bring it in and you've got to offer it back.
Okay. I think I'm at a ton of people. It's good to see you. Hopefully there's something about it. Everybody wants to talk to Scarlet.
They are.
A mic that doesn't amplify your voice.
You can keep talking to the presenters after this one.
Too short.
Come back for Esports.
Let's take conversations outside or grab seats.
Is it just the three?
All right. Now
I'm
for
moderating.
Esports.
It's me.
East side versus west side. Okay, east side, take it away.
Hi guys, I am Gina Dawson. I own Eastside Esports. It is a scholastic youth esports league. I work with kids ages 8 to 17 and teaching them not only just how to play games, but how to create community and build relationships and have fun around gaming. So I'm glad to be moderating this with you guys. How to break into esports.
Can't wait to find out. That's a tough one. Hey, I'm Chase Peterson, the founder of Atlanta Premier. We changed our name recently this year. It used to be called Premier GG. It's a Atlanta-based esports organization. Right now, we currently compete in Apex Legends. We just got invited back for year 3 of the Pro League. So this will be our second year in the pro circuit for the game. We carry content creators, production team, graphic designers, web designers. We have a few interns from Georgia State now. We do educational camps, summer camps, merchandise, apparel design, all kinds of stuff. I think really just important to know about us is like our big thing is I grew up in Cobb County. I'm from here. I still feel like I'm like a nobody, right? I never really had what you see like in the optics, and the 100 Thieves, and the Cloud9s. Never really had the support from the beginning. So I have kind of an interesting story to share if you guys are interested later. So we built it on community and putting roots down here in the city and making a difference was really what our mission is about. So excited to speak more about it.
My name's Cooper Fiscus-van Rossum. I do a couple things. I'm a former high school esports coach, so I helped start a program when Georgia acquired varsity status in high school. So that was in Rocket League and League of Legends. After that, I helped form a national coach community of scholastic coaches that works to basically help each other in curriculum nationally. It's a great community. During the summer, we host a season in a league so that the coaches who are coaching all year can actually compete. So we use that to teach the games so they can actually, we can get into this, I'm sure, about how many games a coach is coaching. But that community allowed us to spawn a nonprofit that helps fund grants for underserved or completely unfunded scholastic programs. Right now, I'm working for Skillshot Media here in Atlanta, and I teach for the Georgia Film Academy courses in esports development, as well as a casting and on-air talent course this fall, which will be focusing on remote casting, streaming, and stuff like that. You can sign up still. And I'm the commissioner of the Georgia Esports League. So Georgia Esports League was the baby of Andrew, so founder credits to go over there. I'm pretty sure it got pandemicked like many things, but we are bringing it back because Georgia is a hub and a capital of esports, and the Phoenix theme that is Atlanta, Gel is coming back, and the goal is to shine a bright light on collegiate esports, and through that to collect all of those programs. It's very fragmented in the collegiate scene right now, and then to show these K-12 and up pathways through collegiate and then into the industry itself and how all that's connected. So excited to talk about any and all of that, and yeah.
Thanks for the intros, guys. So our topic is how to break into esports, and I think the first thing you have to do is define what is esports. So how do you break into esports, and how do you know if you're in esports?
Is the question what is esports?
What is esports?
I think we should start with how do you spell esports? How much time do we have?
Yes, Andrew, definitely lowercase s. I mean, esports is a very broad topic. I mean, I would even say you break it up, esports is dependent on the game that you play, right? So at Atlanta Premier, we carry a chess player, actually, who's based here in Atlanta. His name is Frank Johnson. Chess this year has got, the biggest prize pool they've ever had, $1 million on chess.com. There's like 30 million users on their website. So in my opinion, chess is an esport. So I guess I would really just define it as, if you're an athlete that is not competing on the physical field, but you compete in a virtual realm where you are competing to earn money and, you're generating revenue from your competitions, then I would say you are an esports player, whether professional, amateur, semi-pro, whatever you want to call it in your respective game. But that's way too broad to define for each game.
No, I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the term, we talk about this in the class, is like, what even is esports? And you could break that down to, obviously, game titles can determine, is this competitive? We can make it competitive. I mean, speed runs become esports, right? You can make a diagram to say, like, yeah, we can turn that into a competitive. Even one-player games can become competitive, right? But then you look broader on the spectrum and you say, what does it make to create esports? And so breaking into esports is, what do you want to do in esports? Like, not obviously when you watch LCS or LEC or Rocket League World Championships is yeah, or whatever you want to watch. When you see the people on that stage, AGL, right, in North Carolina was just on. They actually had all these Apex Legends teams on site, which was awesome. But the question is, how does that happen? And it happens because there's I don't know the ratio, but I'd say 3 to 1 per player making that happen. So breaking into esports isn't just, I know, it's like 100 to 1. It's ridiculous. Breaking into esports is more about what do you want to do in the industry? Not everybody's going to be pro. Not everybody's going to play in the NFL. But if you love the industry itself, you'll probably find something within that, whether it's broadcast, whether it's social media, whether it's just talent management. Literally just keeping casters in line and on cue and ready to go is an esports element. So, yeah, because you'll probably find a job. So, so like what Chase said, obviously, what even is esports? But then, what does that whole sphere entail, and find, what do you want to do in that world?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so that's what I did with Eastside Esports. What I do didn't exist for a lot of people who are in the esports industry now my kids got to meet some of the Atlanta Reign players, the professional players. And I told them, got like 5 seconds with them to tell them what we did. And they were like, oh man, I wish we had that when we were kids. I'm working with 8, 9, 10, 13-year-old kids to learn how to play as a team so that when they get to be a senior in high school, like my son, get recruited by a college and offered a $30,000 scholarship to play Rocket League and go to school. So it is out there. It does happen. And so I created Eastside Esports so that the parents, the grandparents, the support team behind those kids that are sitting playing video games all summer know what to do and how to guide them. Same way they would if their kid was interested in soccer and playing rec league soccer. They would go to the games. They would learn how to play soccer. They'd get outside and play soccer with them. They'd buy the little, goals, scrimmage, and go to the park. Well, the same thing with esports. Like, learn how to play the video game with your kids, sign up for rec leagues, get involved in your school's clubs, and create what it is that you want to see. So I plugged in with NASEF and GSEF and got onto the scholastic side of things where we're teaching kids about health and wellness around esports. Same as you would health and wellness around soccer. Talking about college opportunities, talking about career paths that are in there. It's like Cooper was saying, there's 100 people behind the scenes for that team that's playing that game up there, and another 100 people behind the scenes for being able to show you this casting, this competition, this performance that they're doing, playing this game. And the number of games is just unlimited with esports. So when we launched, everybody always asks, well, what games do you guys play? Well, the more kids we have, the more games we can play. So right now it's very limited. Minecraft, Rocket League, Fortnite, Knockout City, that's right. But the more kids that we didn't have Rocket League last year, but we had a kid show up who's ranked in Rocket League and wants to play. I said, find a partner, let's get a team going. And so now we have a Rocket League team. So yeah, didn't even know what Knockout City was last year. And now we're creating a Knockout City team. So, if it doesn't exist yet, or you're not really sure and you love doing it and it has a place in esports, figure it out, make connections and start talking to people. Go do it. Do we have any questions? Yes.
How do you know if you should be competing or if it's time to become a caster?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'll let you guys go.
So, you can. Wow, that's a tough question because nobody wants to admit that they're past their competitive point. I guess the question really is like, how far do you want to go as a competitor? If you dig a little bit into the competitive scene, there are actually a lot of leagues and opportunities to play. So if you just love the game and you're like, I just want competitive outlets, you can find them. If you're trying to find a team or you're on a team and you're just not making it, maybe it is time to say, like, what are the other things I like doing? What can I do? You're probably not going to be able to just flip a switch and say, like, I'm a caster now. It's not going to happen. So, it's kind of a slider. If you're starting to see that, like, I'm not getting anywhere on the competitive side, or I'm on my college team, but I'm always riding the bench, which, by the way, subs are the most important part of a team, hands down, forever. That is the rule. But if you're not getting the play time and you want to cast, the answer is just start casting. Like, it's the same. The panel before, a lot of what they said can translate beyond game dev. But you just have to do it. You're going to have to get the reps in. It takes a lot of time to be a caster. It takes a lot of failed attempts. And the worst part is probably it takes a lot of watching your own streams and casts and reflecting on that, changing the things that you see that you do wrong and doing it over and over and over again. So if you feel like it's time to transition, the time to do it is yesterday. And to start researching, practicing, and training. And then casting is the same way. There are outlets and bulletin boards for free casting, for people who are just running these rec teams that just want casters. You might get paid. You might get $10 an hour. Premier will put you to work. We should talk after. But there are opportunities out there. And talking to this audience is really great because, you already are in a community network, some of you, through Scholastics, whether it's through your college or I know there's some high school students here, I think. Start that program now with people that you know, because the hardest thing to do is to find people when you aren't with that community. So if you need a team, start the team. Are you all bronze? It doesn't matter. Just get a team, start competing and practicing and honing those skills, and then eventually you can say like, oh, I am a caster now, instead of just wondering if you'll ever be one.
I think my input is a little bit different. I'm glad you said that, though. I would definitely agree with that. If you want to do something, you just got to do it. That's exactly what happened to me. I saw exactly what you saw. There's a gap. No one else is doing it, so I'm going to give it a try. Here I am 5 years later, and I'm still don't know how much further I've gotten, but yeah, trial and error is important. I did want to add that, you know, if you're at any point in your career and you feel like I need to make a switch in that career, whether that's going from a player to a caster, or a player to a coach, or maybe a player to a team manager, or even I want to start my own organization because I feel like I know how to do this now. I think it's more important, and this is something that we talk to with our players. The thing that I've experienced is that when you get players that are like right on the cusp of like really making it big, they're extremely good, talented players, and you all get them in the same kind of group, there's a lot of burn. There's a lot of turnover with team compositions and people butting heads and not getting along with each other. And during one competition, if they don't place as well as they want to place, or, you know, someone loses their attitude at another person, the whole team will just break up. And I found that a lot of the times that happens because a lot of these guys go into a team with an outcome mindset where they only look at the outcome as the what they're looking for, instead of the work and the small victories that it takes to be a pro. To be a pro in the esports industry, it's not about being 99% better than all the other pros. It's about being 1% better than the other pros.
And working on a team, being able to be
yeah.
You can be the best player, but if you're not good with a team, no one will want you.
Yeah, and I think it really just boils down to your why. So if you go into, I want to be a player because I want to make tons of money and I want a jet like FaZe Clan, you know, you got to find somebody that also wants that. Otherwise, you're going to have issues. And if you don't know your why and you want to be a player, you want to be a caster, you want to be a host, whatever, you need to sit down and you need to figure out really why you're doing this, because that's the only way you're going to make it work.
Yeah, because if you really love competing, if you really love competing, just keep competing. Like, it's okay to lose. You will lose. 50% League of Legends games. That's the win rate. That's the ideal win rate. You will guaranteed to lose one game for every two you play. So,
17%.
Well, this is normals. But yeah, just keep at it if you love it, and then if it's time to switch, then that's okay too.
I saw a hand up. What's your question? How did we get our start in the esports industry? I have an older son that plays video games and got offered a scholarship. And I have a younger son, because you were making eye contact. It's a collegiate thing to do. I have a younger son and daughter that love to play video games. I love to play video games. And I have a full-time job that is not esports. And I created this league because it was a passion of mine. And the ball just started rolling and things just started happening. And at the end of the day, when I sit down and reflect on what I'm doing, I have kids in my league who have told me, and their parents have told me, I didn't have a place anywhere else. And now I feel like I have a place where I belong. I have a community. I have friends. And that is the most important thing, is that these kids have a place where they belong now, where they didn't have one before. And so being able to create that space for them, a safe space for them, was the biggest goal that I didn't even know was a goal. But now that we've reached that goal, that is definitely one of our goals. I chose esports because I like video games. Gamers are cool. I'm a big nerd. Always have been. I'm going to age myself a little bit, but I used to play the original Nintendo, and we didn't have a save button. So we had to play that game for 8 hours to get that little Mario through the castle and then leave the machine on all night so that we didn't lose our progress. So I've been gaming for a long time. And I love the industry, and I love how inclusive the industry is. We have homeschooled kids, we have neurodiversity kids, we have LGBTQ plus kids, and we love all of them, and they all have a place where they can belong. So that's esports for me. Kind of went off guard there, but how'd you break into esports?
So I actually get this question quite frequently. I tell everybody it was an accident, believe it or not. So in 2017, I was owning an insurance agency at the time, and I was like selling insurance, and I was really, really bored. So I decided I wanted to start creating content on the side. And if you create content in the room, if you guys make videos, you guys have a podcast, if you Twitch stream, YouTube, you guys know it's hard. It is hard, and there is nobody there patting you on the back. And I realized very quickly I am not that entertaining by myself, right? And I have a really perfectionist kind of approach to a lot of things media related, and I was just really hard on myself. And so I was going to a couple friends of mine, and we were just talking. I was like, man, I really wish there was, similar to what you said. I wish there was a place that we could all just kind of come together and learn from each other what's working, what's not working, and just talk and have a group, right? And that's probably how you've met a lot of your friends that you play with online. You just kind of vibe with them, and it just grows from there. So if you fast forward a little bit, about a year into that, or about 6 months into that, a lot of people started to kind of congregate together into a larger group. And at that point, we had to start making rules and stuff. Okay, now we got really people just being mean in here. No, can't be toxic, right? And we established all these rules, and it just created this kind of snowball effect where people just kept rolling in. And I was like, okay, well, now we have to have a name for this. It's getting big to the point where we need to establish who we are and why we exist. And I was still creating content up until November of 2018, and at that point I kind of made the decision, okay, do I go 50% on my own streams, or do I go 50-50 on my streams and the community, or do I go 100% on the community? And I was like, you know what, I'm done with streaming, and I haven't looked back since. And I really just started pouring into the education and learning how to do esports, and learning how to run a group, and learning what really the business of content creation and content curation and media online. And I had to learn everything. So from 2018 to 2020, it was just the hardest trial and error learning I have ever gone through. We had 8 teams in all kinds of different games: Rocket League, Dota, Rainbow Six, really, you name it, Fortnite. We had people that were wanting to come and play the show, FIFA, Madden, 2K. We experimented at PUBG, Apex. We had 3 Apex teams at the time. We had a couple Call of Duty teams. And we just were trying to figure out what worked. And my biggest problem with breaking into the scene is there's no resources out there that work for your situation, right? I looked up to a lot of the guys that you guys probably know, the Nade Shots, the Hectors, the Carloses, and really just tried to follow in their footsteps and what they were doing in the industry, not necessarily copying them, but taking what's working for them and giving it my own twist. And through that trial and error, I think we just really kind of figured out what works with team management, and we built our identity on the problems that were in the industry. So we established the company officially in 2020, and we got COVID which was a blessing in disguise, actually. It gave us the opportunity to go even slower and learn it the right way. And now that we're kind of coming out of it, obviously we have a new name now, and in June of last year, we decided that we wanted to kind of go all in on the esports aspect of everything, and really tried to sell some sponsors and some investment money, and we went all in on a pro Apex roster that had experience in the pro league, but were not in the pro league, so they had to qualify through, and we basically just gambled our money with these guys, and it ended up paying off pretty big. They did qualify. They finished 7th in Split 1 playoffs, and now they're rocking and rolling. Everybody knows them, and you can't talk about North Carolina this year because we got robbed. We got robbed in the by 1 point tiebreaker on 1 kill. So we were not there this year, but we're going year 3. So that's kind of my story, and that's Atlanta Premier's story. And I could sit here all day. So I'll give this.
So this kind of plays off the panel before. So I was teaching at a high school. I was in my office. The athletic director, who I was in marketing and graphic design, right? I was the campus nerd geek guy. So athletic director sends me an email, knocks on the door, basically the same time. He's like, open the email. I was like, okay. And it's this announcement that Georgia's going to do varsity esports. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. We should totally do that. And he's like, yeah, I need a coach. And I was like, yeah, I bet you do. It sounds cool. I was like, I wonder what game. And the video was like this video of Worlds of League of Legends. I was like, what even is this game? And he's like, yeah, I need a coach. And I was like, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll do it. And that started a chain reaction of saying yes. So my advice would be, one is, if someone asks you to do something in your a couple percent in your world that you want to be in, but it's not 100%. In my case, I didn't know I wanted to be in that world. I knew that I loved video games when I was growing up. I had no idea that esports was a thing outside or in the States. I knew that StarCraft, game I loved, was huge in South Korea. I didn't know it had made its way, and I certainly didn't think it would ever be a high school esport. But I said yes, and I was like, yeah, we'll totally figure this thing out. We'll figure out how to run a program. It had never really been done before at this level. We failed a lot of things, but we did a lot of things wrong the first season, and then we fixed them because I was like, no. We cannot do pizza every day of practice in games. That's not esports, that's LAN parties. And LAN parties are awesome, but if you want to be taken seriously on campus and you're competing with the eyeballs of football and volleyball and softball and baseball, you can't be the pizza kids. So we put in a real practice schedule. We held people accountable to the same level as the athletics to prove and show them. We had a lot of parents tell me things that would make me cry because it's so impactful on students. And then I left the school, but I kept saying yes to certain things. So during that school, I helped start the first in-school championship because I said, I'm going to stretch for something. Just like they were talking before, expand your comfort zone and reach for it. I said, you know what? Our school has a great auditorium. We need to have an in-person championship. That's what students need. They need to see kids playing in person. I said we're going to do it. I kind of sort of told the head of school, asked for forgiveness, not permission. And once it started rolling, everyone was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so through that, I met Andrew. We worked on that. I met other people in the industry, Todd Harris. And you just start meeting people. You say yes to a thing. You stretch a little bit. You fail often, and you learn from it. And then one day someone will give you a phone call and be like, that was really cool what you did. What are you doing now? And your answer is, well, what can I do to help? and just listen to that ask. And if it's right for you, say yes. But the thing I'll finish this up with is you might know where you want to be with esports industry. How you get there is going to be a lot of things that you did not see coming. But all of those will be like a little door that opens to meet another person that takes you on a path. And like you were saying earlier before this, you might end up finding something that you love that you had no idea you wanted to do. You wanted to be a player, you became a caster. You wanted to be a caster, you became a manager. So saying yes, saying I think I can do that, I'm the person for it. And that's ultimately how I got basically where I was. Is I just kept being like, yeah, I could totally do that.
And you did. Yeah. I totally agree with that. Saying yes. I love that, Cooper. Yes, and since we're on improv. Another question.
So Wonder J on YouTube is loving the panel.
Yay.
Talking about how much work it takes to be a gamer and a streamer.
Mm.
That raises the question, what is a training regimen to be a competitive player, and what is a training regimen to be a good streamer?
Yeah. I want to come at that from my, I'm gonna let them think for a second because they're going kind of crazy. Our heads are like. Brrr. Okay, so the question was, tell me again, Andrew. What was the question?
The training regimen to be a competitive player, to be a good streamer.
So being a gamer takes a lot of work. Being a content creator, streamer takes a lot of work. And so what is your regiment? And so one thing I do with our kids is to educate them on making sure that they are balancing their lifestyle. You cannot stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning playing games and streaming and doing content and then expect to be able to get up and go to school and be successful the next day. Now, my eldest son, I do honor and respect his schedule, and he is a night owl, and the people that he works with and that he games with and that he communicates with, he is up late at night. And because I know when he's going to sleep and he has a healthy lifestyle, we respect that is the time frame that he needs to be awake and working, and the time when he needs to be sleeping and making sure he's eating and all of that. So we do respect and honor that as a grown-up. But as a student going to school, not quite going to work so well. So just make sure you're balancing all of those things.
This is a question I get quite frequently. It's usually phrased differently. Can I be a streamer and a pro player at the same time? And I would say it's far and few between the people that do make it as a professional player and a streamer at the same time. There are a few that do it, but it is incredibly challenging balancing that schedule. So I'll tell you what I tell our creators, and I'll tell you what we tell our players as well. So our players usually are competing about 4 of the 7 days of the week. That's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays. There's usually a competition every single day and sometimes Tuesdays. So those competitions, they play 6 games, 6 to 12 games. And, if you play Apex Legends, it's like a 30-minute game plus a 10-minute window where they have to get the lobby reloaded and everything. So it takes 5 hours, 4.5, 5 hours to do one tournament. So it's putting in a shift at work, right? You go to work 7.5 hours usually, so they're on the game warming up for about 2 hours beforehand, and that's just competitions. So when they're not doing competitions, they do need downtime, and as gamers, we all do the same thing. They're playing games in their downtime, right? So we encourage them to work out a lot. A lot of our players do go to the gym. I could say this on stream, but we've been talking to a health and wellness company that's like a drink replacement for a meal, so they can go and kind of on the go to the gym. They go to team meetings every single week for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, where they're watching film from previous competitions, and their situational awareness, make their calls, and it really just solidifies the leadership of the IGL, the leader of the team, making calls about hey, should we have gone this way or this way, so that way when they run into it again in the next competition, that they have a plan. And something that I tell them is they got to have plan A, B, and C, and D, because nothing ever goes the way that you want in a battle royale. Outside of that, they do stream as well. We encourage streaming as a player. Players do have a thing called equity, kind of like the NIL and college traditional athletes. Sponsors want to work with people who have a lot of equity, a lot of eyeballs on them. So streaming is a really good way to do that. Finding that balance is the most important part. And for creators, I would say it's very similar. You do not want to be live every single day. That is the opposite of what you want to do. You do not want to do a 48-hour stream ever. Do not do that. So our number one creator, she's on TikTok and Twitch. She sets aside usually a day or two to give herself time to relax. And then usually has 2 days where she's doing market research and recording. So she makes TikToks. She has a 1.2 million on TikTok and 48,000 on Twitch, I believe. She puts a lot of effort on the back end so that her front end product is impactful and looks really good. And that's honestly the most important part. And I want to share this with you guys, and I'll hand it to Cooper. I'm sorry. I call it the fountain of content. So when you're live on Twitch, a lot of people that jump on Twitch and that are brand new just want to be on Twitch all the time. And they feel like, well, I'm not going to get followers if I'm not on Twitch. My favorite TV show only comes on once a week. I wait for it every single week, and I watch it at the same time. Yeah, treat your stream just like that. And when you're not live, those people will wait for you, but you can tease them with the fountain, right? So you take your clips from your live stream, and you can post it on your social media, right? Your Twitch or your Twitter and your Instagram, right? Make it impactful to your audience, and then make that long form content to sustain them throughout the week so that they can keep coming back, right? So it's I'm here for one day, and if I'm not here for this one day, I miss you completely. Social media, 2 to 3 days, right? You're good for about 2 to 3 days, and then your long form media stays out there forever. So the more you can feed your bottom of your fountain, the more water comes out the top. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, what you just said is really good. And I'm going to focus, I guess, more on kind of what you were saying with all the things that don't happen when you're live, right? So grinding a game is actually the worst way to get better. It's a great cultural shift that's happening in North America is an emphasis on health and well-being, including mental health and downtime and nutrition. You're seeing pro teams invest heavily in this for their players because of the longevity that it lacks in professional esports. The washout age is super low. It's in the low to mid 20s. Yeah, it's crazy short. And so a lot of teams in North America are cutting down their grind time. They're not doing 16 hours a day. They're breaking that down. They're realizing, just like in traditional, stick and ball sports, you can mimic a lot of that, right? Look at if you're in high school and you want to start a program, walk into the athletic department and say, how does soccer work? How does it work? How does practice happen? What do you do? Well, those sports have had so much time to figure out what works well. At 90%, 10% of the time, people are like, what about this? What about this? What about this? But the foundations are there. So mimic stick and ball sports, right? They have a proven track record of rest, workout, and game time practice. If you look on YouTube and you're like, how do I get better at League of Legends? Or how do I get better at Rocket League? The pros, the top streamers, the top 0.05% will tell you, play, practice, and watch your VODs. It is not grind until the end of the earth. It is, do your research. Same for streaming. You can't just turn on the mic and turn on the camera and expect to be great. But if you do some research, you look at to see what other people are doing. You read up about equipment. You make a schedule on Twitch and you stick to it. That means you don't have to be there 12 hours a day. If people know you're going to be there from 4 to 6, well, guess what? That's when they'll be there. And then, in that realm, to kind of wrap it up, is think about your audience. So if you want to be a pro streamer and you want to put the work in, think about something that's going to differentiate you and entertain your audience, and then tailor the content for them. Get to know them, get to understand them, and then and cater to them. If you try to hit every single person, you'll hit nobody. And eventually, also, the other last thing it takes time. So the regiment that you build, make it work for you, be healthy, but also recognize that it is not an overnight success situation. It's going to take time. It's going to take networking, liking people, following people, sharing things, being on LinkedIn. I never ever thought I would promote LinkedIn, but man, get on LinkedIn. Like, no matter if you are in high school, get on LinkedIn. If you are 58 years old, get on LinkedIn. If you want to connect with anybody, people on LinkedIn are like, oh, I got a DM. It's about business. All right, cool. You want an interview? That's why I have LinkedIn. Like, just do that, and then work out, eat healthy, and don't stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Last question, but we'll take questions after. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
What colleges and universities in Georgia have done the best job with esports and why?
Oh my gosh. There we go.
Yeah, it's a great question. So tailoring this back to GEL, Georgia Esports League, collegiate esports is pretty fragmented. There's a bunch of different regional options for competition. Some require qualification. Some you just pay to play. What's really interesting and exciting in collegiate as well as high school is the biggest campus isn't necessarily the best esports campus. But in GEL, we have UGA, Georgia Tech, a small school called Bruton Parker, which, by the way, has 6 kids on Rocket League scholarship. 5 are freshmen. So that's a foundational program being designed. We've also got West Georgia. We're talking to SCAD, State. All of these. Southern. Yeah, we're a lot. AIA, Art Institutes of Atlanta, they don't even have a program, but they're like, we'll join GEL because we want to create a program, right? So part of GEL is foundational program development as well as successful programs. KSU, that's a great program. They've been doing it a while. They have a ton of members in their club. They have multi-tier as far as varsity and club level play. KSU is a powerhouse in Rocket League. State's really good. They were really, really prominent in Smite. UGA, a great story about UGA is they've got a new captain taking over their program. It's still a club program. UGA, massive school, club esports. And it's being run by a recent graduate has amazing plans, and he's going to take that program soaring. For esports, so the way it works is essentially, if you're a college and you don't have a program, you're going to have to start it at the student level. Go to your student services, camps, clubs, whatever they call it at campus, and be like, how do I start a club? If they tell you to get a faculty advisor, stereotypically go to IT. Because you need to know them.
I'm an IT faculty, so I know one.
Yeah, so you need to know the IT faculty because esports, the field of play for esports requires whitelisting, fiber, good internet speeds, as well as you can get creative in how, if you know the IT department and what's okay and what's not okay on campus. But yeah, you might need a faculty advisor, but you might not. So the first thing I would say is intramurals are going to be the first route. For all of the universities in Georgia and colleges, there are not a lot of esports varsity programs. But what you have are gaming clubs that are generally like, gaming, anime, and entertainment. And out of that crop is maybe 3 to 5 players in a game that are like, whoa, we're actually kind of good. Yeah. What do we do now? And then they start looking around. They'll find these tournaments that are posted to things like Battlefy or other sites where start.gg, all these places to find competition, right? If you're in Georgia, contact me for GEL. But you start that way. And then eventually you're like, oh, we want to join this league. They require an advisor. So then you might go that way. If you are a faculty at a campus, it's the other way around. You can go to athletics or you can go to student services and inquire and be like, hey, you guys know anybody in gaming clubs? And if not, the process is similar, is to reach out. Find who's on campus, who's interested. Find a tournament. That's kind of the reason that GEL is running a November tournament, is to see who wants to start a Rocket League team. we have a tournament for you. And that can be the catalyst to say like, oh, we just play a couple nights a week. We can now play for something. So intramurals, yes, a lot of those programs can compete in the same competitions as varsity. It's literally just show up, pay a registration fee if it exists, register, and compete. If you want to join a regional league like NAC or Peach Belt, those have their own requirements. But the entry level for a collegiate esports program is literally the drive and the determination of the group of kids and students and adults that want to do it, and the equipment. Which, start with Smash, if anything. Everybody's got a Wii. Or free-to-play Rocket League.
I want to add to that the best programs, regardless of age, are built around the base and not the top. So, yeah, exactly. So nothing works without the legs. And through having the community around, like you starting a program or, a team, that's really where you can drive that kind of those cogs together and work as a unit. Because you will find that just because your team is horrible, these kids are still getting something out of it, right? And I remember our first season in Apex at all, we finished like 63rd, right? And I was like, ooh, that is not good, right? But once you start doing it, people will come to you and you'll learn what you need to learn about your programs that you're building through just working with the kids. So if you're going to put a lot of attention into something, it's the base. So
to add one last tiny thing to that, because what you said is really good. So it goes all the way back to the why. Like, if you're going to start a program, just figure out why. If it's going to be to win every tournament, there can only be one winner, right? It might be you, which is great. But if that's the why, is to always be first, you're going to be disappointed often. Yeah, you're going to get burnt out. But if the why is because you want that community and you want that team and you want to show up and create a grassroots thing, then you will create a program that will sustain.
That will outlast everybody.
Yeah, and it will outlast everybody.
I hope we answered your question. We were told that was the last question, so we're going to wrap it up. Thank you to Cooper and Chase. And thank you, everybody, for being here.
And they'll hang out and answer questions. Right?
Yeah, and there were more questions, so we'll take more questions, but I guess he's cutting off the...
Are we still live?